Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel, our website, or our social media. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Fans of the Moser Cie Pioneer Tour will recognize this model. Just as that Pioneer circumnavigated the world, this example is going to find its way from me to you with love. A timepiece that measures 42.8 millimeters in DLC stainless steel. This is the Moser Cie Pioneer Center Second Black DLC. So you have the combination of the super hard diamond-like carbon coating on stainless steel. It's a watch 42.8 millimeters by a reasonable 14.5 millimeters in thickness, of which much is the bubble-like sapphire, and then from lug to lug, a reasonable 51 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs that is very contemporary, giving the watch a broad planted footing and stance on my wrist. Now my wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you can see that down the barrel there's some clearance on both sides. The cuff shot shows this watch to be surprisingly amenable to a tight dress sleeve, and then the over the top shows that the watch is large, but not so large I wouldn't recommend it for a 15 centimeter circumference wrist, maybe even 14 if your wrist is more oval than round. Let's take a look at the hardware and software. I should clarify what I said earlier. The Moser Pioneer Tour is a collector and fan sort of social media phenomenon started by the Moser factory in Schaffhausen, but extending to collectors around the world who have posted up a traveling Pioneer prototype on their social media. It made its visit to me, and I sent it on its way. This is not that watch. This is a full production unit. You can see the strap is nicely ventilated. Sports watch bracelets really should be. There's some definition created by the perforations, as well as a well that's molded into the center of the strap. It is a thick strap, so nice and tough, the way a sports watch strap should be. This is a brand new Moser strap. Absolutely no crimping or gouging or wear. Rolling around, you can see that there is a double deployant clasp with trigger release, so this is going to protect you from accidental droppage while donning or removing at bedside. No sports watch should be easy to drop. Moser has got your number in that regard. Now, rolling back to the case, you can see it does feature the characteristic evacuated lug profiles that have made Moser cases famous and immediately identifiable. But whereas those of the Venturer and the Endeavor tend to be a little bit more organic and fluid, these are a bit more severe and mechanical. As you can see, that internal coining and the sharp ridges defining the hollows give this more of a machine look and sensibility. Now the lugs are fairly sophisticated, as there's a polished outboard fasten. You can see, despite the DLC coating, which is hugely scratch resistant, they've maintained the distinction between polish and satin finish. You'll appreciate that the top of the lugs also have a spline down their center, so there's a good deal of complexity here. It's a big case, but it's got brains and brawn. It's big and sophisticated. There's a screw-down crown. The watch is 120 meters water resistant, and then we have a funky blue Fumé dial. The funky blue is a signature Moser color, and that fade, the Fumé, which fades from light to dark at its edge, that is also a Moser signature. So this watch is identifiable by means beyond simply the case. Minimally branded, Moser likes to note that its watches are 90% Swiss-made or more, so they don't even bother listing Swiss-made on the dial. They think it denigrates their brand to associate with Swiss-made labeling that only requires 60% Swiss content by value. The rest of the dial is upscale, with a Reho outboard featuring the lumed indices themselves and individual blackened faceted metallic indices that contrast subtly against the darker outer portion of the dial. Now, if you look at center, the hands are polished and they stand out far more distinctly. So as a sports watch should be, it's readable at a glance. Now when you turn it over, you can see caliber HMC 200, a manufacturer movement. It's manufactured in ways that even big brands don't often achieve, as Moser's precision engineering subsidiary in Schaffhausen also builds hairsprings, escapements, and balances, so that all of that is their own. The system is an automatic winder with a 3-day power reserve, and as you'll note, there is a stop seconds function. Note the recessed bolt free-sprung balance. So not only is it more resilient and better able to take and hold adjustment in the face of concussion, but the recessed bolts reduce the aerodynamic drag. It beats way at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it's steeled against shock thanks to a full balance bridge and a free-sprung index. It is a technically impressive movement. Their own hairspring, escapement, balance, a properly thick movement, and I mean that in the most complimentary possible way, as this 27 jewel movement is not inclined to histrionics or delicacy. That's often a problem in a lot of sports watches from high horology brands. Their movements aren't tough enough for the job. That is not the case here. This is tough stuff. You'll also note a few of the styling signatures of Moser: black polished screws, double crested Côte de Genève across the bridges. You can see the rotor has been blackened with a sunburst at the center of its bearing cap, and then there's engine turning across the base plate with a machined but attractive polished bevel on the edges of the bridges. This is an impressive watch from a brand on the rise. Unlike the other manufacturer in Schaffhausen, which makes over 100,000 watches a year, H. Moser Cie only makes about 1,500, validating the company's tagline, very rare and very appealing. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the Moser Pioneer Center Seconds.